Yo, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, baby, representing TKOG. And today I'm going to be showcasing you guys my take on pure Lyrulist. So this list is really kooky, right? So there's like so much extra interaction outside of just standardized. And I don't want to say standard because there's a lot more that I feel that is untapped with this archetype that you can do. But outside of what you would go for in the norm playing this deck, I have a few interactions that I specifically allocated slots in my main deck for these interactions because I value what they give me in the terms of disruptions that are diverse and protection. I'm going to explain much more when I get into it, but I have to get that out the way. So before we get into the list, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to my channel, please and thank you. If you do, click the notification bell. And if you like this video, please leave a like. If you disliked it, leave a dislike. And also, if you want to support my channel in any way, shape, and form, I highly recommend you becoming a member of my Patreon. It's just, honestly, it's too good to pass up. And also, join my Discord. So, with all of that said, I'm going to get into this list. So, I actually have played LYRULISCs quite a bit in the past. So, I'm going to tell you guys right now, my build was so ghetto. I was playing Relinquished LYRULISC, and I even threw the Exodia cards in, and then I realized the Exodia cards were too much, so I just started playing Kinkiabo. I started playing level 1 extenders, like I think it's the Jet guy, I forget his name. And I was playing Mystic Piper, because all we had was just the 3 birds, and you had to play 3 of each. And you had to play a lot more rank 1s. And you only had the Fusion and the XYZ at that time. Like, we only had Nightingale and the Fusion. So I was actually going like Insta Fusion, summon her, she wouldn't die. And I was like doing plays to go poly to summon the Fusion Lyrulist, and it was just huge, right? So like that was like one of my win cons. Other than that, it was like Relinquished, Mystic Piper. It was a really cool deck. Kinkiabo was nice too, but it was nothing like this. This is like, I really like this because if this didn't come out, the only way you were ever gonna truly play Lyrulist competitive, from what I understand, is if you were playing Tri-Brigade Lyrulist. It's like really hard to get away with not playing tries and try and just do a pure rank 1 spam deck, because these new cards give the engine so much more potential for playing through disruptions, baiting hand traps, getting better follow-ups, really crazy recovery, and also disruptions that you just didn't have before, right? Like examples like this card Robin, like being a disruption and a follow-up. This is like the kind of card that I love. I wish I could play 40 cards like this, where I can get value out of it, being able to take cards from my opponent, and it replaces itself. Cards like Prom Thrush, enabling you to do 8 OTKs that you shouldn't have been able to do before now. Like, between Bird Sanctuary, Prom Thrush, and also Barrow Canary, the OTKs with the symbol Nightingale are more consistent and just easier to access than they ever were before. You guys, I mean, this deck just has so many cool interactions. I like it a lot. I definitely feel that it is definitely a competitive deck. It is more or less, I would say it's teetering between tier 2 and tier 1.5. Yes, it is actually that good. The end boards are actually that good. And because you can play 20 non-engine cards, I just like it more. So I'm going to get to list, but I do also want to state this. You guys might be wondering, why isn't he playing more rank 1 extenders or level 1 extenders? Like, where are all of his extenders? So I felt that playing 20 non-engine cards just to make my deck more competitive, I felt was too good to pass up on, versus playing a lot more extenders. Because the thing is, it's not like the deck needs extenders, right? It's not lacking in that department. If you guys catch my drift, you do have enough extenders to just play, even through multiple disruptions. The thing is, like, by playing more extenders, yes, in theory, I'd be able to play through more disruptions. But this is the thing, the disruptions that I'm going to be playing against are going to be cards like Appaloosa, which means my extenders aren't going to trade with Op. Actually, Op can trade with multiple extenders by itself. You have cards like Double Dragon Lords, Revolt, and specifically Seal and Tidying, and IP Masquerena. Those kind of cards are really difficult to deal with. If they target, it's a little easier because you can make, a lot of times when you make an XYZ with Cobalt, people just don't read the full effect of Cobalt, right? Like, they don't understand that your card cannot be targeted. But the other times, like, you will trade with the bounce and you will lose 2 cards sometimes in the process. You might lose just 1 because maybe one of the bodies you put on field actually got a search or replace itself. But I just feel like extenders, in this deck, overdoing it is not gonna lead to the result that you want. Because if you want this deck to be competitive, in my opinion, you want to play a lot more non-engine cards that allow you to have diversity in the terms of your disruptions and have a higher ceiling going second, and to be able to just beat the better decks. Like, it doesn't matter how many extenders you have if you're under Kaliga lock or if they have Herald, right? So, like, this deck, I feel, just because you can, it was just too good to not do. So, I'm playing a lot more non-engine cards than I am playing extenders. But I'm telling you right now, this list works before you think, because I'm not playing any pseudo-generic level 1 extenders that my deck's not good enough to keep playing. It is. So anyways, for starters, we're on 3 copies of Prosperity. Prosperity is just insane in this deck. It's an extender, it's a starter, it's everything. This card right here, absolutely bonkers. Extender and a starter all in one card, and its follow-up too, depending on what you need to do with it. It's crazy. Cutie Booty, I've been calling her Cutie Booty since, like, I think 2017. I've actually not been playing LYRULISC faithfully, but I've been playing the deck for, I want to say, like 4 years. And when I first got the cards, I nicknamed her Cutie Booty. She was always my favorite. And funny enough, even though, like, Barrel's out, because she doesn't have a restriction, a lot of the time she's still, like, one of the, probably, like, the best card in the deck. Like, Barrel's crazy, but because of what I'm personally doing with my LYRULISC deck, and I'll, like, you guys can see these 2 tries. I'm going to explain this when we get down. But because of this particular interaction, a lot of the times I have to choose between whether or not the value I get off Canary is worth the value that I would get off these. So she's incredible. Like, she's an extender. She's a follow-up. She can be a starter at times. I mean, she is just incredible. The attack boost is relevant because every extra bit of attack matters on this card because it can attack so many times and directly at that. It's ridiculous. Sapphire Swallow, you know, just an incredible extender in this deck. This is a 3 of, hands down, without a doubt. Sapphire is just crazy. Like, Sapphire is gas. The reattach from grave, really big deal. You want to get your birds really big, especially when you're going for game for night or you're just going for a gigantic Zeus. Then we have double Cobalt. I like playing 2 because I like opening it and I feel like it's necessary to play it 2. But this is not a standalone card, as well as Celeste. So this is the thing. So I feel like these kind of cards right here are not the ones you want to play at 3 because they don't do anything by themselves. Yes, like if you open, like you'll have hands where you might not open like Bird Call or anything crazy, but you can just put 2 bodies on field and then go in Recital. And any hand that can make Recital is definitely a good hand. Especially like the more mid-range plays that I make where I just don't overextend, I don't commit too much. I just go Recital into the Nerval and then go Swallow, Nerval, and then I'll like do that play that I'm going to tell you guys about right now. It's really, really cool. I like it a lot. It's a really good play. But yeah, so like these 2, they're good cards, but they're not standalone, so I don't like to play 3 of them because you never want to draw a hand where like you open both of these in your hand. It's really, really hard. Like, and at that, like, their effects only trigger their special. If it was like when they're normal, they would be like incredible. Like, this would be a pseudo 1-card starter if it was when it was normal summon. I do like Wagtail's graveyard effect as well. Again, just like the new support, like Konami knew what they were doing. The new support made Nightingale OTK so much easier. It's just crazy. Like how you can kill your opponent without Borosword. It's hilarious. 1 for 1, both a starter and an extender, and also it just gives me more free access to this part of the deck, which is really important. So I'm going to pause on this part of the deck right here. The rest of this is very easy to explain, but this right here is the most, going to require the most explanation for this whole list. And if you guys are here to just, you know, get the list, copy, paste, and leave, then just do that. But it's very important, anytime someone makes a profile, that they should absolutely explain the reasons why they play the card and also the interactions that come up that made them want to play it in the first place. Because a lot of the times, that is the bit of information that people were wanting in the first place. Because sometimes people are like, I don't really want the list. I just want to know why you're playing this because I might want to try this out myself, but I want to hear your experience too. So I think it's really, really important for that. So I'm going to explain this. So I'm playing Nerval because what this deck is lacking that I've always felt like this deck lacks, it's like PKs. You have no diversity in your disruptions. In the terms that like you can only really truly interact with monsters. If you're playing trap decks, yes, like you can just go Burr with Zeus. You might even want to play the other rank one that's just unaffected by everything just to get a safer Zeus. But outside of that, like, because you could still lose to, like, Strike and stuff like that. Outside of that, like, I just feel like I just want to have a way to protect my board from, like, Lightning Storm evenly, spells and traps that matter, talents, just different cards like that. So Nerval offers that. And so what Nerval gives me is either, and I can choose which one, which I really like. It's just more diversity. So, like, I just like also being able to play Revolt in this deck. So Nerval either gives me options in the terms of giving Revolt plus follow-up. Not only follow-up with the Revolt, but follow-up because I search Karaz as an extender for next turn. So that this also is going to be explained further. But, like, so Nerval, what it does in the middle of your combo, you can say which one matters more. Barrel Canary as an extender, because all Barrel Canary is going to do is just give you an extra, maybe an extra rank 1, and maybe an extra search. Maybe you might actually use that because you weren't able to get to Robin before. So then you decide, do I go Barrel for Robin and use Robin because Robin's insane? Or do I hold Barrel for follow-up and go Nerval? So no, you cannot do these both in the same turn because they have rest of the turn restrictions and you cannot do both. So yeah, you guys can say, oh, Stacks, I'm not playing this because I can't resolve both. But let me explain why. This is why the Nerval is really important. Because you go Nerval for Bloom, right? Then you go Nerval, because he's a winged beast, and Broom into Samorg. Now, you can say, I need a spell or trap negation, so I am not going to activate Broom. But I am going to activate Nerval and search Karaz. And then I'm going to summon Apex Avian on my end phase. Not the Barrier Statue. We side deck the Barrier Statue. The reason why we side deck the Barrier Statue is because we want to play it against decks that it's actually good against. I do not like the Barrier Statue against Virtual Worlds. I don't like it against this deck. I don't like it against the Bird Up variant. I also don't like it against Flunderies. And I feel because literally all those decks are actually meta, the Barrier Statue is great, but it's something that you want to play in the matchup that it's actually going to dominate, in the matchup where it matters. And I know you could just say, I'm a main Stormwinds because I literally could just win games off of it. But the thing is, like, in the terms of stopping your opponent from comboing, you pretty much have enough just with Engine alone. Like, even without Utopic Future, like, you have enough. It's crazy what this deck can do. But diversity is what I'm looking for. I don't just want to trade with monsters. I want to trade with a blowout card. So this is why I value playing Apex Avian. And a lot of the times, like, I do want to play, like, a second Broom just because I want to be able to, like, search Revolt on command. But the follow-up that you get when you choose to not search Revolt, because when you search Revolt, you don't get Avian, but you still get a crazy disruption that also does do something similar to Avian. It plays around Dark Ruler and Droplets and other blowout cards. Now, this doesn't really play around Dark Ruler or Droplets, but this plays around blowout cards very similar to Avian does. The idea is, like, if they have a blowout card, which is going to be a spell more often than not, or an evenly match, like, you want Avian to trade with it. And if you go for Revolt, it'll play similar around those, especially if you get slapped, they slap a Dark Ruler, you'll still have Revolt and hand traps and stuff like that, which is good enough. But when you don't go for Revolt and you use the Nerval play to get Avian, you still get to search Karaz. So that means your follow-up, you can still go for Omen, which is a really big deal, you guys. You could still go for Omen when you banish, and then anything happens to Omen, you search Engine. So I really like this small, very, very small package, because you don't want to, it's not actually a Tri-Brigade LYRULISC deck. I'm just trying to take, like, what I feel Tri can offer me that my deck doesn't already have and play that. I don't want to end on, like, Appaloosa Double Dragon Lord's Revolt, because in the terms of disrupting monsters, I already have enough from my own engine, so I use this to kind of get myself a cheat code, right? Like, this is the part of deck building that a lot of people just don't understand. It goes right over their head. Like, you have to really think, what can my deck lose to? What can I do about it? And if you're not doing anything about it, especially in the terms of your main deck composition, it's going to be your fault every time that card hits you, and you knew you could have done something about it, but you chose not to because you either chose greed, you chose more gas or more extenders, or you just chose to play, you know, I guess, more LYRULISC cards, right? But I really like this. This gives me stuff that the LYRULISC deck just can't really do on its own. I really like this a lot. So like I said, you will either choose Barrel or Nerval. A lot of the times I do choose Nerval unless I just didn't open strong enough to do it. And that means it's just another follow-up play that is a huge surprise factor. That's the other thing. And now one final thing, because like this, like I said, there's just so much you can do with just a small package. Is post-siding, we go into Stormwinds, if we play against the Monkey Eldritch deck, we go into some Morgue. Because the Monkey Eldritch deck, they think they can set Torrential Needle Sealing Strikes, Punishments, all their back rows, Broken Lines. They think they can monkey break my board. I'm going to summon some Morgue Sun, and you're not even setting anything at all. You can also side deck anti-spells. So, guess what? If I was not, I'm not going to say I'm a genius, but if I was not Stacks, I would lose to the Monkey deck like every time. Like, just like every time. Like, you play against Trap Eldritch, and there's a high chance of you losing. Like, even if you go first, they like open insane. So this part of my deck, I feel like I'm gonna put a lot of people on this little interaction in their pure Lyrulist deck. Like, this is so good. You can do this in pure Tri, but it's just different in this deck because when the main focus of your deck is not Tri, your opponent has to hand trap you differently, and they will never respect the Nerval. That's why it's so good. So anyways, yeah, this is just a win condition. This is a win condition. Oh my goodness. And I just had these there because you're always going to play this in this deck, whether it's main or side. I don't main it because it's more of a going first card in my opinion. And cards that are only really good when you go first, I'd rather just side deck them. So continuing on, for defensive cards, Ash, Talent, Cross Out, because even though the deck's gas, there's just certain choke points, especially when your hand's a little bit weaker, that you want to cross out. Sometimes you cross out for Nib, sometimes you cross out for Imperm, it just depends. Sometimes you just cross out for Ash because you might just open like Bird Call and a Bird, and you're like, I need this to resolve. It just depends. So I play Talents, Cross Out, and Call by to push through hand traps, and just to be able to help me to solidify my engine to make sure that the game stays established to where I can play past turn 1 and still be able to disrupt my opponent. So this is a really big deal. Imperms and also Droplet. So Talent, Droplet, you just break boards alone with these. But the reason why I still like playing hand traps, including these, like this is a search target, this is a cross out target, but you can still draw, is like when your inboards are as insane as my inboards and you have hand traps on top of that, you just win. It's just that simple. And the last card is Bird Sanctuary. I don't really like the draw that much. That's not the reason I play it, just to search for an upstart that you can just, you'll plus more every turn the longer it sticks. But the main thing is, this is a big deal when you're trying to kill your opponent. You want to search Bird Sanctuary and go for Nightingale and kill them. You're not making Zeus, you're killing them. So that's pretty much it, you guys. That is my pure Lyrulist deck profile. The biggest thing about this profile that I knew would require so much was just the Nerval and the Karaz, this little 4-card package. Because you can totally cut this, play more engine, or play more non-engine. Or you can cut this, throw an Upstart Goblin in, and you've got yourself like a perfect 40-card deck. But I just, in my opinion, I would say there's no way, like, the only reason why people don't play this package and play it the way I play it, even if you're playing tries, they're not doing what I'm doing, it's just because it's not really something that crosses people's mind. Most people just think, I make big board, I win. But for me, I'm like, I make big board, this is what happens if, like, this happens right here, I don't win. I think about, like, that 10% chance. Like, that's the type of player I am. I'm a very passive/defensive player for the most part. I'm conservative, and I just know when to go for, like, just to go ham and just vomit my hand, but I also know when not to. And I'm also very, very, very cognizant of what my deck struggles with the most, and I normally always have some kind of spice in the main deck to help me to beat that weakness, because I try my best to make the deck as perfect as possible. This is my list. Is it the best list? It's totally up to you. There's probably better lists. I'm not the Lyrulist king or anything, but I do know this deck, and I do know this right here is one of the biggest reasons why this deck is so much better than it would be without it. Like, this makes the deck insane, and the deck already is insane. Like, these cards. So, extra deck, 3 Recital Starling. I'm sorry, I almost skipped that. This card is crazy. Like, this card's just crazy. I mean, like, it's just insane. Like, this card is so stupid. I love making it with Cobalt and people, like, trying to activate Imperm, and I'm like, thanks for the free info. I appreciate you, fam. We have 2 copies of Robin. Card's nuts. Like, and on top of that, it lets you grind better. It's just too good. And then the Prompt Rush, like, the back row, it does come up, but the main thing is, like, this just helps you kill, like, even more. Like, when you have, so when you go Barrel, Sanctuary, you've gone Wagtail, and then you've gone Sapphire, and then you've gone Prompt Rush on your Nightingale, it's just game. It's game. I mean, she will be so huge and have so many materials, it's just like, GG. And then we have Draco Future, because I do, even though like this card is ridiculous, and when I say ridiculous, you can make it with so many materials, it's just not even fair anymore. We still want Draco Future. Like, this is like our boss monster that your opponent has to work to out. This is like our Dragoon. Like, I like playing a boss monster that your opponent has to play in a very specific way to out, especially when you can set up other disruptions by him. It makes it way too hard to out him. This card is crazy. He actually just beats Dragoon by himself. Future, double Zeus. You do want to play double Zeus. It will come up a second time, trust and believe. I play Downard because even though like people will say, oh, you could just get so many materials, you know, you don't need it. Like, you will have hands where you just can't make like a 3 material Exceed. Like, you just can't. So you just go for a 2 material Exceed, go Downard Zeus. And the reason why you do that is because that extra resources you would use to make like a fat bird, you hold it for follow-up because you want to use the Zeus to clear the board and then still keep playing after that. You get what I'm saying? And then Bear Broom. So yeah, before anybody drops any ignorant comments, I already explained that you cannot Canary the same turn you Bear Bloom, and you cannot Bear Bloom the same turn that you Canary. And also, if you guys are wondering, when you go for the Avion, when you go for the Avion plate, you just simply do not activate Bear Broom's effect. It's just that simple. I just use the Nerval into Bear Bloom to get a quick way into some org, but also the Nerval gets me follow-up, which is Karaz, which is not just a follow-up, it's an extender, because this is the thing, when I go for some org, and I go for Avion, that means I'm not getting Revolt, which means my Shurag is just going to kind of be chilling there, right? Until I draw that one of Revolt. That's why I like the Karaz, because the only other target left after you search Karaz is just Omen. And the idea is they're going to play very, very cautiously and use their disruptions different, even if they break your board, because you will have follow-up from your engine and Karaz. So sometimes Karaz can just be like the last card that you play just so that you can just break the board that they made at least. And you'll still have follow-up if Shurag dies because you can search more engine. If the extra deck wasn't like as tight, because I do believe in playing 3, even though you can recycle, like 3 recycle comes up too much. And sometimes a second of this, but I normally just hold it for when I push. Like if I had a little bit more space, I'll play 1 extra link. Because sometimes you do want to go Omen and Karaz and link those off into a Pharyngit, search your bird, and then Pharyngit keep playing. So if you guys find space, definitely play the Pharyngit because it makes the Karaz follow-up into the Omen just more insane. Like, I know it'll feel like you're playing Tri, but you're really just not. You're just using, like, 3 Tri cards just to make your deck more competitive and just give you strengths that you don't have to consolidate for weaknesses that you do have. So, thank you guys so much for watching the profile. God bless you. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. Stay tuned for future content, and peace.